Hi, it's me Axel, and today I've bought myself a new smart product. A smartwatch. So in this video I will not only unbox my smartwatch, I will also do a first impressions on it, and then I will wait a while before I do a review on it as well in the same video. Okay, so let's be real. There are probably thousands of unboxing videos on this watch already, so I will just go through it very quickly. So here we got the watch, and my first opinion when seeing it is the metal looked like plastic. Yeah, it's real metal. However, at first glance, it really looked plastic. And then we got the leather straps. I think they look fantastic, and I'm not sure if it's real leather, but it feels like it. And they look very durable. Now, the straps are called quick release straps because they're supposed to be easy to take on and off. However, I didn't find it very easy at first, but once I figured out how to get the first one on, I got the second one on in just a few seconds. So now, starting to watch, I noticed very quickly that there are very few apps. It seems like there's almost no brand apps except for Samsung's own apps. I mean, there's Spotify and Outlook and those apps, but there's not a lot of apps. Google doesn't have any apps, as I can see, and I don't know if it's possible to use Google Assistant, which I had kind of big hopes for. I think the watch looks amazing, and on my hand it feels even more good. That's good English. Now, another thing I just noticed is that it's too small to see the screen. I mean, of course it's a screen, but it's tiny, so it's too small. But at the same time, it's too big to be a watch, because it's bigger than normal watches. Now, I don't think that will be a problem because it's only a few millimeters, but just a thought. So that was my first impressions of the watch, and now we will go to future me, where I will give a full review after having worn this watch for a while. Hi again, today I'm back after 1 month using the Samsung Galaxy Watch Active 2. Now, using this watch for over a month, I've got a few pros and cons written down. So I wanted to start off this review by going through all the pros and cons before I continue on to other things. So let's go. Now, the first con I've written down is few apps. This might not come as a surprise to you, but there are almost no useful or functional apps for smartwatches. Most of the apps you can find on the app stores are small functions like calculators, timers, or watch faces. The rest of the apps are basically the same apps as you get with the watch, but from a different creator. For example, camera controls, email apps, and a ton of training apps. Now, a lot of training apps isn't weird, since these are sold as activity bands mostly. Now, fortunately, I don't need that many apps on my watch. For most apps, I would rather go to the phone anyways, but there are a few apps that I really wish were on the watch. For example, I really miss all the Google apps, especially a Google Home app, so I can control my smart home with my watch. Now, there is a workaround for that, but I will go through that later. Another app I really miss is BankID. It's a Swedish app for identification in various online banking situations, owned by multiple Swedish banks. It would be really nice to have BankID right on my watch instead of having to open my phone and go through there. And really, there are just a few apps that I really miss, but they really would make a huge difference, so that's why I categorize this as a con. My next con is regarding the activity and training apps. The problem is that they're not always accurate, and you usually have to be in a specific position with your arms and your hands for the app to be able to track it correctly. For example, after every watch sitting completely still, the watch will remind me to move a bit. It will give me a few options on stretching exercises, and these stretching exercises are supposed to be counted by the watch, and when you've done 5 of them, you're done. However, the watch rarely counts them, so I will have to do about 30 before the watch has even counted 5. Now, I guess it's better for my health, but it's very annoying. There are many activities that aren't tracked very well at all. For example, pull-ups. I don't know why I would want to count that in minutes or seconds instead of sets and reps. Now, the touch bezel. I'm still not sure whether I like it or not, because at first it was so difficult to use that I considered turning the future off altogether, but as I've gotten more used to it, I can control it with more ease. However, I do think it looks awful with a big black bezel. However, I do think it looks awful, and I would much rather have a bigger screen and another way to scroll. Most other watches from Samsung have a big gear wheel on the top, but I'm not sure I like that either, because I think they look almost as awful and they just look too bulky. So in that case, I'd rather take this one. Now the final big con I've found is only going to affect a very few number of you, but some people, including me, use 2 SIM cards in your phone, which doesn't work very well with the watch, because every time you try to make a phone call through the watch, you have to go to the phone to choose which SIM cards you want to make the call from. I use my phone for both private and work calls, so it would be nice to be able to use the watch for both as well. Now, the easy way around this was to choose a main SIM card for the phone, so that the watch only uses that SIM card. Unfortunately, that means I cannot use this for work calls. However, it doesn't matter anymore either way, because now I've got myself an eSIM, so I can use this watch without the phone at all. So, that was the bad things, but there are not only bad things with this watch. The first pro I've found is Samsung Pay. I remember how nerdy I felt the first time I paid using my phone in a store. That was nothing compared to how nerdy and good I felt paying with my watch. It's surprisingly nice not to have to reach inside your pockets to find your wallet if you have it right on your arm. Unfortunately, there is one problem I have with the Samsung Pay. The only problem I have with Samsung Pay is that I can't connect my credit cards. Basically, that means I will continue using my real credit cards until American Express, for example, can be used on the watch. Another one of my favorite features on this watch is statistics. If you know me, you know I like statistics, and this watch gives me so many statistics, it's hard to keep track of them. This watch keeps track of almost everything. How I sleep, how I work, how I exercise, my heart rate, calories burned, and even stress levels. Now, I'm not sure how much the stress level thing works, because in my case it's always been down to the bottom, and I'm not sure if I am that much of a stress-free person like the watch tells me I am. Either way, lots of statistics. A follow-up pro to the previous one is that this watch really motivates me to exercise and be active. For example, the statistics on my sleep and my exercise makes me want to better myself every single day. One of the smallest but still biggest pros in the same way is notifications. It's very nice to just have to look at my watch when I get a notification instead of having to find my phone. Getting notifications on the arm is way more acceptable socially in a sense. By that I mean, it's way more socially acceptable to take a glance at your watch as to picking up your phone in a meeting or while at dinner. So that was the pros and cons, but now there was a few things I wanted to try with the watch that I've now tried. Let's go through them. First off, I wanted to try Samsung Pay, and as I have already told you, that's one of my favorite features on the watch, so it's safe to say it works very well. The only con I found with it is that my credit cards isn't compatible. Then I wanted to control my Google Smart Home, which at first seemed impossible. However, I did find a few ways around this, and the first one is G Assistant. That app, in combination with a few instructions in the app info, made it possible to get a somewhat buggy Google Assistant on my watch. I could even change the shortcut to Bixby to that app instead. I can't activate it using the wake wires, but honestly I wouldn't do that anyways, because that is very annoying when I have smart speakers at home, which I noticed when I used to have it on my phone. G Assistant is only for voice commands, so what do I do if I don't want to use my voice? Unfortunately, I have to use SmartThings. The bad thing about that is that I have to connect all my existing products and smart lights and everything to another hub as well. The problem isn't that in itself, it's that most of my devices aren't compatible with SmartThings. And the IKEA lights, for example, needs the SmartThings bridge, which is very expensive, and I cannot justify the purchase just to be able to turn on a few lights with my watch. It is doable, however, and the Philips lights doesn't need the bridge, so I've tried it with them. What else did I have on my list? Oh yeah, I wanted to try working out with the watch. This function is overall fine, but mostly it feels unnecessary. Some functions are very nice. For example, when I'm out on a walk, the watch will automatically detect the walk after 10 minutes and start the activity for me. It will also detect when I've stopped the activity and stop it for me. But there are many other features that I don't see any point to at all. For example, the one I mentioned earlier, pull-ups, but also bicep curls. Since I don't have the watch on this arm, these arms curls wouldn't be counted, which would mean I would need 2 watches. That doesn't make much sense to me, so that feature is not something I will use. The next thing I wanted to try was sleeping. I've been wanting sleeping statistics for a while, and when my girlfriend got her Apple Watch and showed me that sleeping function, I wanted to get this watch even more. And in my opinion, the Galaxy Watch does a way better job at tracking sleep. Mostly because it's doing it all natively and I don't have to turn on and off an app before and after I sleep. The last thing I wanted to try, and sort of the most important one, was to make phone calls. And as I said earlier, I have dual SIM cards, which made me have to choose one of the cards as a primary one before I could make calls from the watch at all. Once that was fixed, however, the experience was very pleasant. It can only use speakerphone or if I have Bluetooth headsets, which I don't have at the moment. So unless I have a headset, I would not use this in public unless I really had to. I called my dad the other day using the watch and I noticed pretty early that my hand got very tired. That basically just means that I wouldn't use the watch speaker function unless I really had to for a longer amount of time. One thing I like with the call function is eSIM, which makes it possible for me to leave the phone at home and still be able to receive and make phone calls. So overall, my opinion on the watch is very positive. I went from thinking there wouldn't be any need for a smartwatch to not be able to find any time to charge the smartwatch in a matter of a week. The battery is good, by the way, I forgot to mention that. I haven't charged this watch since yesterday morning and it's 1 o'clock at the moment and it's at 69%. What I've realized with this watch is that this is the most important item when you leave home, because if I forget my phone, it doesn't matter, I can make phone calls from my watch. And if I forget my wallet, it doesn't really matter, I can make payments from my watch as well. Sure, I wouldn't be able to make calls from my work phone and I wouldn't be able to make purchases with my American Express card, but really, what does it matter? I still have access to my contacts, so I just have to explain why I'm calling from a different number, and I would still be able to pay with my normal credit card, so I would just lose a few points in the AMX rewards system. I do like the fact that in theory the watch could replace the phone and the wallet. Right now it's just in theory, but if I forgot my phone and my wallet, I would still be able to get by without them. Please let me know if there's anything I missed in this review, or if there's any questions that went unanswered that you wanted to know about the watch. You can easily do this by commenting below, since I read all of my comments. With that said, if you like this video, please give it a like, and if you have not done so already, please subscribe to my channel as well. And also, please tell me in the comments what you want to see next. I still don't have a real outro catchphrase, so I'll just leave it here.